At this point in the training kit, we've pretty much finished up all of the color maps for the creature's body. So now what we're ready to do is, in Photoshop, add some photographic textures to the skin to really finish it off and give it a lot more depth than what we've got currently. Okay, so here's where we left off in Photoshop. At this point, we've got all the age spots completed, and like I said, we're ready to now go in and use some photographic textures to really give this skin a little bit more depth and some more detail, because right now it does still look a little bit flat. Okay, so what I'm going to do is open up this image, and what this is it's pretty much just a photograph of some elephant skin. Okay, and what I want to be able to do is use this as a color map, or as a layer within our color map, to just give a little bit more detail to our skin. But before I can use this right now, we've got a few problems that we have to deal with. First of all, this image really wasn't taken to be able to be used as a 3D texture. So you've got the problem of that it's not a repeating texture, okay? And also it's too large. There's not a whole lot of detail in this. So luckily though, with Photoshop we can take care of both of these issues. The first thing I want to do though is address the issue of this not being a repeating texture. Okay, and basically what that means is this top part of the texture, if you were to wrap it around an object, would not meet up perfectly with this part of the texture. You would definitely see a seam or a line between this area, and same on the two sides. And what we can do within Photoshop is fix that problem so that this texture is a perfectly seamless repeating texture. Okay, so let's go ahead and do that. With this skin texture selected, let's go up to Filter, let's go down to Other, and let's go to Offset. Okay, and the Offset will bring up this little window. Okay, we want to make sure that it's set to wrap around, and we want to be able to see what we're working with, so make sure your Preview checkbox is turned on. And basically what this Offset filter will do is, as you crank this slider up, what it's basically doing is moving the pixels from this side of the image and wrapping them around over to this side. So as these pixels start to move off this edge, you can see as I crank this up, these pixels are moving off this edge, but they're reappearing over on this side. So this is what I was talking about earlier, about this not being a perfectly repeating texture. You can definitely see that seam. Okay, so let's go ahead and crank this over, and let's also move this down vertically. So basically, now what used to be the four outer corners of this image now meet right in the center. And now what we can do is use Photoshop to touch everything up and completely remove all of these seams. So what I'll do to make that happen is let's go ahead and use the Healing Brush tool. Let me go ahead and zoom out a little bit. And what I'll do is, first of all, select an area that I want to sample. Okay, so let's say I want to be able to take some of this paint. So with this healing tool selected, hold down your Alt key on your keyboard. Okay, click the area that you want to be able to take the paint from. And now all we have to do is paint onto this area. Okay, let's go ahead and make a few more strokes. And this is going to take a little bit of time to be able to pretty much seamlessly blend everything together. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead now and sample something from this area. Let's sample that, and let's start to paint away this area. Paint that seam away. Okay, let's go ahead and sample some more. And what I'm trying to do is just very lightly try to overlap some of these different sampled areas. Okay, let's go ahead and try and remove this seam. Okay, and you can see what we have here is still not a completely seamless repeating texture. You can still see where some of these repeating areas are happening. So what we can do is just use a series of paint strokes to try and randomize this as much as possible. Okay, so this is pretty close. This is definitely getting better. It's getting to the point now where it's very difficult to be able to see any kind of a seam. So what we can do now, let's go ahead and offset this again. Okay, and I'm just making sure that we do now have a perfectly repeating texture. So this is a good way within Photoshop to be able to determine if the texture that you're going to be using will actually repeat correctly. So as I offset this, you are not able to see a seam anywhere, which means this is now a repeating texture. So in the next video, we'll go ahead and make some more adjustments to this before we're able to use it for the skin texture of our monster.